Hi there, Tim Williamson at Keylets, and I just want to quickly spend a bit of time answering some of the questions, the standard questions that landlords always ask us prior to meeting up. And I think this little video will hopefully answer those questions so that we can ask and go over other areas obviously to do with your property and everything else when we meet up. Now, the standard questions like what do you charge? What do you do for your money? What if the tenant doesn't pay? How do you reference the tenants? Can I get my tenant out at the end of the tenancy? Do you do inspections? What are the hidden costs of using you as a letting agent? So happy to answer those. I'll put the price situation last, make that the last thing to look at. I know it's a bit cheeky, but we'll just do it that way. Really, what do we do? Okay, well, we've been letting agents, and we're only letting agents, we're not estate agents. We've been letting out properties for over 25 years now, both myself and my wife, running this business. And as a result, we've met an awful lot of tenants, and obviously our landlords have grown and know how we work. And it's really important to us to protect the interests of our landlords, because at the end of the day, they're the guys that we work for. They've been on this journey for all these years, and we don't wish to reduce or dilute our standards in any way. And so I think it's quite clear that we need to sort of look at that. Now, what do we do for our money? Well, apart from looking after the landlords, we have procedures and processes in place that we've built up over the years to help protect our landlords. Now, the key, though, in my opinion, over the years has been really that it's down to getting the tenants correctly vetted and referenced. Taking the time, making sure that you don't rush it, don't cut corners. We use an independent specialist referencing company, and have for many years used the referencing companies to do this task for us. We pay them a fee, but it means that they will do the credit check, employers reference, landlords reference, but also they'll get guarantors if necessary. We'll check those out too and add them to the lease and things like that. Now, the point of doing it independently is one, that they have an independent view as to whether the tenant is worth taking on or not. So it's not like another agent does it in-house where you're asking the agent to do the work, but then again, obviously they've got a vested interest to say, yeah, this is a great guy, no problems at all, because they want that rental rented as quickly as possible so they can start making money. We personally would rather make the extra effort and have an independent view on somebody, and then that takes that question mark of are we actually working in your best interests or not away. So that is one. And the other thing is, of course, if it's properly vetted by these agents, by these referencing agencies, it means then our landlords then qualify or their tenants qualify for a warranty that we offer our landlords, which will pay the rent if the tenant doesn't pay, and has legal insurance obviously to cover any costs should you have to go to the tribunal. Now, given COVID and all the experiences we're having with furloughs and people running out of money, obviously rental protection has definitely come into its own, and that wouldn't be available to a landlord if you haven't had them independently vetted. So this is, if you like, proven to us, although we knew right from the start because we get better quality tenants, proven that this is a really good way of protecting our landlords. Now, the other thing is, do you have, can you meet your landlords? Okay, one or two landlords will ask us that, okay? It's maybe not a standard question, but it's certainly one we've been asked in the past. Can we have a copy of the application form and things like that? Well, obviously, we're your agent, therefore, yes, you're entitled to that. Most of our landlords don't do that. If you've got some local knowledge, I'm more than happy to pass on the details of the tenants so you can give us some input like that. But most of our landlords, the vast majority of our landlords, trust in Rentshore doing their job properly and having the rental protection at the end of the day. So, yes, not a problem. If you really want to, meet the tenants, that's not an issue as well. Within certain criteria that are right. So that's fine. The other thing is, well, I think I've answered the question of what if the tenant doesn't pay? Well, there's procedures obviously in place for that, and rental protection in place for that as well. And the tribunal has the opportunity for you to pursue for rent arrears. But as I say, we have a tried and tested procedures for rent arrears. It's not something we sit back on. And in truth, you may get 1 or 2 cases a year if you're lucky. Most landlords, most tenants, I should say, respect obviously their property. They know there's rental protection in place, and so consequently, they work with us. If they're late with their rents or whatever, it soon gets sorted. The question then is, how do I get my tenants out? I think I said that one. How do I, meeting the tenants, that's fine. Are there any hidden costs? Okay, hidden costs. We're not an agent that goes and loads maintenance work or maintenance invoices. We ask our tradespeople, and they're proper tradespeople, to provide invoices so that you can actually see what you've paid. You have that invoice to put against your tax, and by all means you can test it by phoning the trades up yourself, or get someone else to do it just to double check they're not overcharging. But we don't add commissions onto our maintenance or anything like that. At the end of the day, we want to be open and honest with our landlords. That's how we keep landlords, and that's how we take properties from other agents, because obviously that's not the way they work. In terms of inspections, yeah, well, okay, we do inspections. We like to inspect in the first month when the tenant has moved in, so we've got some feedback about how the property is, how they're fitting in. We then see them every 6 months, unless there's a reason to see them sooner than that. Some landlords will ask us to go in, quarterly, and as we do in the old days. But in the main, if you check out your tenants at the start, make sure that they're okay once they've moved in. They tend to be pretty respectful of the property, and there's generally never any real issues. Now, the other thing that other costs, if you like, that people don't consider is cost of an inventory. Yes, there's costs there, and we strongly recommend that a good quality digital inventory will protect you, will protect your property. It sets the standard at the start of the tenancy. The tenant knows what they're signing for because they sign the inventory fully. They get a copy themselves, and that is the standard we refer to when the tenant leaves. So again, by setting the parameters at the start of a tenancy, the tenants are aware where they stand and they respect the property. It works, and we find it's a great thing to have. Okay, a good quality inventory. Some landlords occasionally will not take an inventory. Personally, I don't see why they would want to do that, because all they're protecting is the rent if the tenant doesn't pay, but they can't really make a claim on a deposit because you have no evidence of what the property was like at the start of the tenancy or at the end. So inventories are important. There are compliance costs you've got to be aware of as well. I wouldn't say they're hidden, but they're certainly there. If you haven't got an EICR and a gas safety certificate, Legionella test, all these things that are on the list that I've sent through to you, or can send through to you, because I've got a little article on that as well. These are things that there are costs, but they're all tax deductible, because at the end of the day, renting is a business. It's a taxable income to you, and therefore there are costs that you can offset against that tax, or any tax you may need to pay on your property. So finally, the question about how much do we charge? Okay, so we have 2 simple charges. The first one is a one-off charge that comes off the first month's rent, and we work on a basis of no tenant, no fee, so it comes off that first month. Now, this is £175 plus VAT, and this covers our costs in terms of doing the referencing, doing the viewings, doing the paperwork, doing everything, if you like, prior to the tenant moving in. And then we have a commission charge, which for us is 11% plus VAT. Now that again is middle of the road, if you like. Other agents charge more, others charge less, maybe 1% or so. But at the end of the day, if we're doing the job right, which we are, we're making sure that our landlords are protected, the tenants are protected, then that is not a high cost in today's market. So that's what we charge. Those are the costs, if you like, of doing business with us, and hopefully we can move forward and really get down to grips with your property and get everything sorted out. Cheers then. Bye for now.